Hello everyone, I am Corum, also known as VlogMN. Before I get into this part of the video, I do want to mention something that's been coming up on my social media accounts, mainly on my Discord and on my Twitter. I've had several people mention that they wanted this video to be released, and I have been mentioning that I haven't released a video in this series in over a year on this channel. I want to clarify that, obviously, according to the timestamp at the bottom, I want to clarify that this video is longer than anything I've released and scripted out so far. Most of the videos that I released in the past that had scripts, the scripts were somewhere between 5 and 7 pages long. The script for this video specifically is over 20 pages long, and the clips that I have for this video are longer than most of the clips that I have for any other videos that I have released. Because of this fact, I have more footage to go through for this video than I usually do. I'm sure you can see the length of the video down below. This video took longer for me to record, longer for me to edit, longer for me to upload. I want to say that I hope you enjoy this part of the theory, because this video is longer than pretty much anything else I have, and because I don't know how long upcoming videos in this series will be, I want to clarify that the videos will probably be few and far between. I'm not saying that I won't be working on these videos in the future. I am specifically saying that these videos will be taking a while for me to produce. On that note, I want to say that I do have several other series as well. I'm always looking to be making question and answer videos, so feel free to ask those questions down below. I am taking questions about almost everything, but a few examples of topics for questions do include the videos that I make, Sean, Eric, LGBTQ+ issues, some politics, and more. If you don't want to ask a question here, I do also have other social media, including Discord, Twitter, Reddit, a few other social media places. All those links are down below. I'm also making Twitter response videos. I'm working on scripting and filming those, basically where I respond to other people's tweets. Of course, most of these tweets, at the time I'm recording this video, will revolve around, trans rights, gay rights, UFOs, and gas stoves. A few other random things thrown in there for good measure. On that note, I do also have several other styles of videos planned, including video reactions, responding to YouTube comments, responding to DMs, challenges, ghost hunting videos, and more. I'm also working on coming up with ideas for short films as well. At this point, I'm just trying out a few things, seeing what works. I want to do things that keep up with the schedule of one video released per week on this channel. I do also want to say that I have two other YouTube channels, and I have a bunch of other social media sites. I try to keep everyone updated as much as possible throughout the week on the other social media sites, and I have a set schedule for these videos that I release on other YouTube channels as well if you want to follow me. But if you want to follow my videos and don't want to follow this specific style of video or any of the other videos that I release on this channel, I do also have a vlogging channel and a gaming channel. And then I do also have Instagram, Twitter, and more. I also have a Discord if you want to join that. You do have a bit more freedom there to share a little bit more on my Discord. All the links to all of that will be down below in the video description. In this part of the theory, I am going to describe the Sith. I haven't gotten into the actual meat and potatoes of the theory yet, but I will include a little bit at the end of what I currently think. But in this video, it's mainly going to be me describing the Sith, including the beliefs and the history. I understand that I haven't gotten into the real meat of the theory, which is whether or not I believe that Qui-Gon Jinn is a Sith. That is going to be coming. But I do have several videos after this one to cover before I actually get into that part of the theory, including who Qui-Gon Jinn is, different Jedi who have become Sith, and how both Maul and Qui-Gon both survived their deaths. These introductory videos are to explain some of the lore of Star Wars and the whole Star Wars universe, since there's so much history to cover outside of the movies. Also, by covering background information, there is a possibility that I will change my mind to something different than what I currently have. I originally had a different intro planned, but I wrote this intro in March of 2022, and a lot has changed since then. What I originally talked about in the video intro is no longer being talked about, so I decided to change the intro. Granted, what I'm going to be talking about in a bit is still no longer going to be talked about, but still something I feel like I need to add in there. In this video, I will start covering different pieces of the Sith Order and dark side info. This will help explain the dark side and help me work on my theory of Qui-Gon Jinn being a Sith leader in disguise. There are different characters who have been brought up when the dark side is being discussed, including Big Papa Palpatine himself, Darth Vader, Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, Plagueis, and more. In fact, I have even heard Jar Jar Binks has even been rumored and talked about when it comes to him being a Sith leader in disguise, just like Palpatine was. I will be talking about a lot when it comes to covering different parts of the Sith, including some of the things that happened during the events of the movie, or I guess the movies, and some of the events that occurred either prior to or after the movies as well. Some of these events will be more well known than others, due to them either being a part of the movies or due to them being talked about amongst fans. Also, I want to clarify that if I mispronounce the name of a character, I want to apologize ahead of time. If I wind up accidentally mispronouncing a name, it may happen multiple times throughout the videos that I make, whether it is on a Qui-Gon Jinn video or not. Feel free to try and correct me in the comments section of the videos that I do make. Granted, if you're using the comments section, it's probably going to be a little more difficult. But this specific part of the video series is one where I will be covering different bits and pieces of the Siths. I will be covering different bits and pieces of the Sith's history, including before, during, and after the events of the movies. I will also cover several events that happened during a few of the shows as well, because there's so much information regarding the Sith that I don't think I will be able to cover all of the major events that happen in Sith history, but I will cover as much as I possibly can. This is to cover and introduce the Sith, so it will be easier for me to talk about why I think what I think, including whether or not Qui-Gon Jinn is a Sith in disguise. Because there is so much information regarding the Sith, whether it is in canon or in Legends material. But I want to preface this video by saying that I will be doing a lot of talking. I also want to preface this video by saying that I feel as if this video will be quite a bit longer than the first 2 videos in the series. Having said that, I always wish that, I also wish to say that I always welcome different topics for me to talk about, and I always welcome your theories on the topic. What do you think about Qui-Gon? Do you think he's a Sith in disguise, or a Dark Jedi? What are your opinions on Jar Jar Binks? If you have any theories regarding any of the other characters or events that happen in the Star Wars universe, please let me know in the comment section below. I may even include a section of this theory, or make an entirely new series dedicated to myself talking about your theories. I do also want to clarify that this part of the theory will be quite a bit darker than the first 2 parts of the first 2 videos that are released in this theory, as this part does give information regarding the Sith and their many actions. It's probably not going to be as dark as I thought it would be initially, but it's still going to be a bit darker. As I hope to cover later in this part of the theory, the Sith are a group that deal with many different dark events as they rely on passion and anger. There are a lot of different negative things that happen due to the actions of the Sith, regardless of whether these are events that are caused either directly or indirectly due to the actions of the Sith. This part of the theory is going to be talking about the Sith as an opposition to the Jedi. I do know that there's another group of Sith out there, and the second group of Sith is not the same as the Sith that are the topic of this part of the theory. If you wish to hear more about this other group of the Sith, please let me know. I do look forward to hearing from you, and I'm willing to make a video about them if it will clarify a bit about the topic in question. Also, before I start with this part of the theory, I want to add on, fairly recently for me at the time I'm recording this, but a while ago in terms of YouTube, Jason David Frank has recently passed away. For those of you who don't know, Jason David Frank is known for playing the Green and White Rangers on the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which ran from 1993 to 1995. I'm not going to go into detail about what is reported, as there are several different reports out there that I heard that cover what happened. I will say that if you're struggling with depression or unwanted thoughts, I urge you to reach out and get help from a professional. Also, feel free to talk with somebody close to you. Unfortunately, I cannot help at this point, but I will say that I am always trying to be a source of inspiration and happiness for people. I may not be able to talk with you directly about a topic, which is why I suggested reaching out to friends, family, professionals, whoever. Reach out to somebody. But I do try and help in different ways. Also, I want to add on one of the big pieces of news that happened is that Kanye West was banned from Twitter. I don't know if he's had his Twitter reinstated. I don't know. But he was banned for Twitter for hate speech. Twitter owner Elon Musk said it would be suspended after a post on Kanye's account one night that showed to have a certain image associated with people from Germany inside the Star of David. The post was then blocked by Twitter for violating its rules. Musk wrote on the platform that the suspension was for incitement to violence. The length of the suspension at that point was not immediately clear. Kanye also sat down for an interview with conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, in which Kanye made a few comments that are regarded as hate speech. And the comments that he made are ones that I will not repeat in this video. I'm sure there's something out there. I don't suggest looking it up unless you're using it for research. But the reason I'm not saying it in this video here is partially due to YouTube's rules and policies, and partially due to the fact that I do not feel as if I am able to repeat what was said. Nick Fuentes, who is also supposedly known as a bad guy, it's a name I haven't heard at all, but I'm just going to say bad guy. I don't want YouTube's bots to pick up on me using that term and ban me for it. But Nick Fuentes was also on the program, which was live streamed. Just know that this information is out there somewhere if you really do want to look it up. I'm not saying do, but if you do want to look it up, the information's out there somewhere. If you do want to know what's said, I'm sure the video can be found somewhere, whether or not it's on YouTube. But that being said, about the stuff about Kanye, the stuff about the Green Ranger from Power Rangers, doesn't regard the actual video, so I'm going to get into that video right now. The Sith, also referred to as the Sith Order, was an ancient religious order of Force wielders devoted to the dark side of the Force. Driven by their emotions, including hate, anger, and greed, the Sith were deceptive and obsessed with gaining power no matter the cost. The Order reached the apex of its power under Darth Sidious, the Dark Lord of the Sith, who achieved his Order's goal of galactic conquest after a millennium of plotting. Within a generation, however, the deaths of Sidious and Vader would mark the end of all of the Order's Sith Lords. Thousands of years before the Clone Wars, the Jedi Order was fractured by a schism that began when a rogue and his followers turned away from the light side of the Force, believing the dark side was the path to true power. Having relocated on the planet Korriban in the Outer Rim territories, their movement ultimately evolved into the Sith Order, resulting in a war between the former brothers and sisters of the Force as the Jedi Knights rallied to the defense of the Old Republic. Although the Sith were driven off the core world Coruscant by 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, I'm just going to condense it down into, instead of saying before the Battle of Yavin, I'm going to say BBY from here on out. So, although the Sith were driven off of the core world Coruscant by 5,000 BBY, centuries of conflict ensued between the two orders, culminating in the Old Republic's collapse. Undermined by constant infighting and ruined by the last war against the Jedi, the Sith were rendered all but extinct, with the exception of one. Darth Bane survived the Ancient Order's destruction and passed his knowledge to a single apprentice, Darth Zana, before being entombed on Korriban, which became known as Moraband. Henceforth, the Sith was governed by the rule of two, a new philosophy dictating that only two Sith Lords a Sith Master and a Sith Apprentice could exist at any given time. As a result, the Sith were all but forgotten while the Jedi focused their efforts on preserving the new age of peace under the modern Galactic Republic. The Sith remained in hiding for a millennium until the rise of Darth Sidious and Darth Maul in 32 BBY. Sidious, trained by Darth Plagueis, hid in plain sight as Senator Sheev Palpatine of Naboo, orchestrating the blockade and invasion of his homeworld by the Trade Federation. Sidious maneuvered the Galactic Senate into electing him to the office of Supreme Chancellor. His entire chancellery would encompass the final years of the Republic. Over the next decade, Sidious sowed the seeds of discontent within the galactic populace with the help of his new apprentice, the former Jedi Master Count Dooku, who adopted the name of Darth Tyrannus and became the public face of the independent movement for self-determination. The Separatist crisis culminated in the formation of the Confederation of Independent Systems and the creation of the Separatist Droid Army, which, in turn, compelled the Senate to support the establishment of the Grand Army of the Republic. The Clone Wars began with the first Battle of Geonosis in 22 BBY, after which entire armies of battle droids and clone troopers... You know what? I'm going to keep it in. After which entire armies of battle droids and clone troopers deployed across the galaxy, making war and devastation commonplace for the first time since the formation of the Republic. In the final months of the Clone Wars, Sidious sacrificed and betrayed Tyrannus as part of his plot to turn Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Order's prophesied chosen one, to the dark side. Playing on Skywalker's fear of losing his secret wife, Senator Padme Amidala, Palpatine revealed his deception and his true identity, while claiming that the dark side was the path to immortality. Members of the Jedi High Council, having learned from Skywalker's report that the Chancellor was in fact a Sith Lord, attempted to arrest Palpatine, but the Chancellor resisted. Torn between his faith in the Jedi and the fate he foresaw for his wife, Skywalker ultimately chose the path of the Sith, betraying Mace Windu, allowing Sidious to kill the Jedi Order's greatest champion. Using the incident in the Chancellor's office to frame the Jedi Order for treason, Sidious declared Order 66 was in effect, marking all Jedi as enemies of the state. The clone troopers' programming turned them against their Jedi generals, who were betrayed and executed across the galaxy, with the majority of the Order falling victim to the Great Jedi Purge. Sidious announced the creation of a new regime, transforming the Republic into the First Galactic Empire in 19 BBY. With the former Anakin Skywalker renamed Darth Vader at his side, the self-proclaimed Galactic Emperor's rise to power was complete, and the Sith were restored to dominance after centuries of plotting. The Sith's control of the galaxy remained relatively unchallenged for a generation, until the birth of the Alliance to restore the Republic, which in turn led to the Galactic Civil War in 0 BBY. The Emperor, having felt a disturbance on the Force, discovered his apprentice's long-lost son, Luke Skywalker, was training to become a Jedi. Aware of the potential Luke inherited from his father, the Emperor foresaw the possibility of his own destruction, but resolved to turn the young man to the dark side as he did with Vader. During the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY, or after the Battle of Yavin, the Emperor forced father and son into a duel which ended with Luke disarming Vader. The Emperor subsequently betrayed Vader by ordering Luke to finish him off and be Sidious's apprentice. But the young Jedi Knight refused, knowing that he had lost Luke to the Jedi. The Emperor proceeded to torture Luke with torrents of Force lightning. At that moment, Vader, overwhelmed by his son's compassion for him, chose to save Luke by killing his master. The death of the now redeemed Anakin Skywalker, who succumbed to his injuries, marked the end of the Sith, bringing a balance to the Force. Yet while the Chosen One prophecy foretold the Sith's destruction, it never predicted the end of the dark side. Approximately 30 years after the last battle in the Galactic Civil War, the First Order emerged from the unknown regions, seeking to reclaim the legacy of the Empire by overthrowing the New Republic. At the same time, a new generation of darkseid wielders surfaced. Supreme Leader Snoke and his dark apprentice Kylo Ren, who was the grandson of the late Darth Vader, commanded the First Order's armies as well as the Knights of Ren. Ultimately, Ren succeeded to Snoke's throne during the war against the Resistance. As the new Supreme Leader, he vowed to forge a new galactic order by destroying the legacies of both Sith and Jedi. Unbeknownst to Ren, however, Snoke was in fact only a creation and a tool of the reborn Darth Sidious. Supported by the Sith cultists of the Sith Eternal on Exegol, the legendary hidden world of the Sith, Sidious announced his return to the galaxy and revealed the final order. Sidious's emergence from hiding resulted in a desperate final battle with the Resistance, which saw the Jedi Rey band together with a redeemed Ben Solo to destroy Sidious, preventing the rebirth of the Sith. The Sith focused on primal emotions like anger and pain in order to gain power from the dark side of the Force. The Code of the Sith was the antithesis of the Jedi Code, although, like its counterpart, it governed the actions and beliefs of the Sith. The Sith Code insisted on the importance of passion and the rejection of peace. The Sith Code is as follows. Peace is a lie, there is only passion. Through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. The Sith wore clothing that obscured the identity while in hiding. They used the term dark side because they were secretive. The Sith felt it was easier to impose order if they kept their identities and knowledge a secret, or as Lona Afra put it, hidden in the dark. The doctrine of the dyad arose from the concept of a Force dyad. A dyad was a powerful Force bond connecting two Force sensitives. The bond transcended their physical beings and combined them into one presence in the Force. The beings in a dyad possessed rare abilities that were unique to their bond and therefore unattainable to those who lacked a dyadic connection. regardless of their own strength or experience with the Force. Over generations, the Sith sought in vain to create a dyad through sheer willpower, believing it was the key to achieving the ultimate power of the dark side. The Sith Lord Darth Sidious viewed the dyad as a source of limitless power. The doctrine of the dyad was carved into the walls of the Sith. The doctrine of the dyad was carved into the walls of the Sith Citadel on Exegol, eons before Sidious's time, to remind the Sith of the dyad's significance to their order. The doctrine of the dyad also influenced the Sith Eternal, a cult of Sith devotees who predicted the return of the dyad. Like the Sith Order, the Sith Eternal believed that the dyad was essential to realizing the dark side's full potential. The rule of two governed the Sith Order for a millennium, from its ancient founder to the last Dark Lord of the Sith. The rule of two ensured the relationship between a Sith Master and their apprentice was not one of trust. Indeed, both Master and Apprentice constantly searched for any sign of weakness in the other, for a weak Master deserved to be overthrown by their pupil, just as a weak pupil deserved to be replaced by a worthier, more powerful recruit. This philosophy was embraced by the Sith, who adopted it as a way to purify the weak and become stronger over time, since only an apprentice who had surpassed all previous Sith could take their master's place through honorable combat. The concept of the Force dyad influenced the philosophy of the rule of two, emphasized the power of two Force sensitives working in tandem to grow even more powerful as an order. As a successor to the doctrine of the dyad, the rule of two was seen as an inferior substitute to the dyad and a pale imitation of the doctrine by Darth Sidious. The most moral element of the Sith philosophy seemed to be that the powers gave them the cosmic right to rule the galaxy, which they considered their property. The Sith saw the enslavement of the weakest beings, especially aliens, as the true natural order. An order that was based on a messiah complex, that the Sith were the chosen ones to rule everything. Being the mantra for the Sith Eternal, a section of the Sith that was honored the immortality of the order. Formed thousands of years before the Clone Wars, the Sith were the ancient enemies of the Jedi Order, who shared their name with a red-skinned species, also known as the Sith. Established by a rogue Jedi during the 100-Year Darkness, the Sith sought further knowledge and power through learning the dark side of the Force. Eventually, this Jedi was able to amass a sizable following, all of whom adhered to his new philosophy that embraced the dark side. This schism in the Jedi Order led to a civil war, where the Jedi and the newly founded Sith Order, once brothers and sisters in the Force, fought against each other for power. The war ended in the defeat of the Sith, who fled from known space. Unbeknownst to the Jedi, however, the Sith settled on Moraband, a world of red sands that used to be known as Korriban, where they rebuilt in secret and waited for another chance to strike. Sith temples and monuments were then constructed on Moraband during the time of the ancient Sith. As the Sith Order grew, they constructed massive temples and tombs on Momin in a location known as the Valley of the Dark Lords. The Sith built empires on the backs of their slaves and fought wars against the Jedi for control of the galaxy. During these wars, they built massive super weapons powered by giant kyber crystals. Eventually, an area of the Outer Rim came to be known as the Cloak of the Sith, a name which was similar to how the Sith Lords were known to wear dark cloaks. At one point, nearly 5,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, the Sith waged a war against the Jedi and Old Republic. This was done after many years in exile on the planet Momin, following the 100-Year Darkness. During this war, the Sith attacked the Republic capital, Coruscant. This allowed the Sith to build a shrine on the planet, which became a place of immense dark side power. Eventually, the Jedi were able to repel the Sith from Coruscant. Around this time, the Massassi, a slave race controlled by the Sith, constructed the Great Temple on Yavin 4, under the leadership of the Sith Lord Naga Sadow. Roughly 1,000 years after the war, the Jedi raised their own temple over the Coruscant Shrine in an attempt to contain and eliminate its power. The world of Malachor was scourged by the Jedi and Sith conflict. The Sith continued to expand their empire, erecting temples on multiple planets. One such temple was built on the world of Malachor. At the heart of this temple was a super weapon powered by a giant kyber crystal. The Jedi eventually learned of the weapon and assaulted the temple. A savage battle was then waged between the Sith Empire and the invading Jedi Knights. During the battle, the temple was activated, petrifying everyone on the planet. This would result in the planet being forbidden from the Jedi and becoming a legend for millennia to come. The Sith Lord Darth Momin, after killing his master, Darth Shah, sought more knowledge in the dark side. He decided that his only audience was the Force and yearned to be worthy of it. He built a super weapon using resources inherited from Shah and the help of acolytes desperate to aid him. Darth Momin's super weapon had the power to incinerate an entire city, but his true plan was different. He wanted to pour the Force into the weapon's engine and freeze the terrified expressions of the people in time forever, creating an artwork depicting fear and pain devoted to the dark side of the Force. When he attempted this, the Jedi intervened and Momin's body was destroyed. Yet his mind remained inside his mask, where he waited for his revival as ages passed. During a period of time known as the Dark Age, the Jedi-Sith War broke out. Early on in the war, the Sith attacked the Old Republic capital world of Coruscant. The Sith successfully captured the planet as well as the Jedi Temple. The liberation of Coruscant was one of the last battles of the Jedi-Sith War and resulted in the Sith being driven from Coruscant. The Sith were reformed by Darth Bane, who decreed that only 2 Sith Lords could exist at any given time, a master and an apprentice. The Sith numbered thousands, yet they eventually fell, and despite the Sith's armada's quantitative advantage over the much smaller Ghostfinder fleet, the Sith were outmatched. The Sith's quest to gain power was ultimately their undoing, as the dark side made them turn against one another. Within a year, the Jedi managed to defeat the infighting Sith, bringing what was left of the Dark Order to its knees. However, one Sith, Darth Bane, survived. With his fellow Sith Lords destroyed, he reformed the Order by establishing the rule of 2, mandating that only 2 Sith, a master and an apprentice, could exist at any given time, lest they fall prey to infighting. To keep Bane's philosophy alive, the apprentice needed to slay their master and take on an apprentice of their own, or the master could train another apprentice and have them kill and replace their current apprentice. Bane had also initiated a revenge plot against the Jedi, called the Grand Plan. The Sith abandoned their traditional homeworld of Moraband after it was scarred by many wars. Eventually, Darth Bane was killed and buried in the Valley of the Dark Lords on its surface, but the rule of 2 continued through his apprentice, Darth Zana. It was rumored that Zana had killed Bane on the inner rim planet of Ambria. Many Sith worlds were then quarantined, including Relg, Jaguda, and Zeost. Some worlds were cleansed of their Sith history that even locals had no idea of their past. The Sith remained hidden for a millennium, allowing the Jedi to believe that their ancient nemesis had gone extinct. The Sith stayed in hiding for 1,000 years, their survival unknown to the Jedi, as they continued their revenge against the Jedi through Bane's Grand Plan. With Sith teachings passed down by Bane's rule of 2, the Order managed to survive. In 82 BBY, the Jedi Padawan Dooku, after encountering the presagers of Hakotai Cut, Hakotai Cult, heard the voice of the Sith Lord Darth Skyer in a Force vision. Within the vision, Skyer stated that the Sith were reborn, and he used the Cauldron, a super weapon that ripped a planet into 2 pieces. Eventually, the Sith apprentice, known as Darth Sidious, betrayed his master, Darth Plagueis, by killing him in his sleep, seizing the status of master for himself, as he forwards a plot to destroy the Jedi. Thus, generations after the fall of the Sith, Sidious moved to strike a fatal blow against the Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic, orchestrating his public persona's rise to the Republic's chancellorship and the creation of an army that would purge the Jedi. Darth Sidious fulfilled the return of the Sith rule over the galaxy, giving rise to the New Order under himself as Emperor. Darth Sidious and Darth Maul were the reigning Sith Lords by the time of the invasion of Naboo. The Sith remained a distant memory until the last days of the Galactic Republic, when Darth Sidious and his apprentice, Darth Maul, revealed themselves to the Jedi. Sidious hid in plain sight as the unassuming Senator Sheev Palpatine of Naboo. His double identity allowed him to infiltrate and deceive the Galactic Senate, Galactic Republic, and Jedi. Sidious orchestrated the Trade Federation for the invasion of his home planet. This allowed the Dark Lord to make a play for the galaxy's highest office in a civilian persona and sow the seeds of Sith revenge. Maul attacked Queen Amidala of Naboo and later killed Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, who I will talk about in a later video. But to the dismay of Sidious, Maul fell to Jinn's Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi. Despite this setback, the Sith had returned, clouding the Force with the power of the dark side. The arrival of Anakin Skywalker, a young boy especially strong in the Force, into the Jedi Order offered a potential recruit for the Sith Lord with Darth Sidious in the public persona of Palpatine, who had become Supreme Chancellor of the Republic. Count Dooku was a former Jedi who replaced Maul as Sidious's Sith apprentice, adopting the title of Darth Tyrannus. Following Maul's apparent demise on Naboo, Darth Sidious approached the fallen Jedi Master, Dooku, who had taken on the title of Count of Sereno, and offered him the chance to destroy the Jedi Order and reshape the Republic by becoming his new apprentice. Dooku agreed and was given the name Darth Tyrannus, desiring both power and the elimination of the corruption that plagued the Republic. Tyrannus also trained the fallen Dathomirian Jedi Asajj Ventress as his assassin and potential Sith apprentice, while still apprenticed to Sidious. The Sith chose a bounty hunter, Jango Fett, as the template for an army of clone troopers. For nearly a decade after accepting Sidious's offer, Tyrannus helped his new master to implement much of the groundwork necessary to begin the Clone Wars. Jedi Master Sidious secretly commissioned the creation of a clone army of clone troopers, having foreseen a future conflict in the Force. The Sith took control of Sidious's project, however, after arranging his assassination by the Pike Syndicate. Tyrannus personally recruited the bounty hunter Jango Fett to be the clone template of the Grand Army of the Republic, which the Sith intended for the Jedi to lead. An essential part of the Sith's plan was a behavioral modification biochip. Every clone trooper was designed with a biochip in their brain, ensuring their compliance with Order 66 when the time came to destroy the Jedi. Darth Tyrannus, under his public identity as Dooku, re-entered the public eye in spectacular fashion, commandeering a Galactic Republic HoloNet station in the Raxus system and delivering a rousing speech in which he thoroughly lambasted the corruption and shortcomings of the Republic. Then he began to rally rebellious star systems to his cause, and secretly allied himself with powerful commercial entities, resulting in the formation of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. The Separatist leadership was controlled by Tyrannus, who in turn answered to Sidious. War broke out as both the Confederacy's droid armies and the newly formed Grand Army of the Republic fought over the desert landscape of Geonosis after the extent of Tyrannus' secret alliance with the Trade Federation, the Techno-Union, the Intergalactic Banking Clan, the Corporate Alliance, and the Commerce Guild was revealed. Though the Republic was able to score a victory, Tyrannus and the rest of the Separatist leadership were able to escape the planet. In preparation for the upcoming galactic scale conflict and its aftermath, Tyrannus traveled to Coruscant's industrial district, known as the Works, after the First Battle of Geonosis, where he met with Sidious and delivered the good news of the war's beginning, as well as presented him with the plans for the DS-1 Death Star mobile battle station. During the Clone Wars, the Sith controlled the Galactic Republic and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. In the aftermath of the Battle of Geonosis, the Jedi, once peacekeepers, had become generals and commanders, ranks that were formerly denied due to the Jedi Code. Ventress, as well as Dooku's other recruits, also benefited the Sith by concealing the fact that Dooku was merely an apprentice to Darth Sidious. For at least 2 years into the Clone War, many Jedi believed that Dooku had lied to Obi-Wan Kenobi on Geonosis about the existence of a second Sith Lord, and that he was the master of the Order, allowing Sidious to continue manipulating the Republic for much of the war without arousing suspicion or unwanted attention. Savage Opress, the brother of Darth Maul, was briefly trained as the secret apprentice to Darth Tyrannus. On her tasks for the Sith, Ventress engaged Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano in lightsaber duels on numerous occasions. While loyal, she was ultimately betrayed by her master on the orders of Darth Sidious. Dooku soon after traveled to Dathomir to meet with the Night Sisters in hopes of finding a new apprentice. Dooku and the Night Sisters eventually decided on a young Zabrak named Savage Opress, brother of the long presumed dead Darth Maul. However, Asajj Ventress sought revenge for Dooku's treachery and used Opress as a means of attaining her goal. Torn between two demanding masters, Opress eventually turned on both Dooku and Ventress. Returning to the Night Sisters, Opress found that his brother Maul had not been killed as previously believed. Maul had survived his injuries on Naboo because of his sheer reliance on the dark side and was living in the junk heaps of Lotho Minor. However, Maul's tragic events had driven him to insanity. He remembered only one word: Kenobi. Guided by an anaconda named Morley, Opress was able to return Maul to the Night Sisters for treatment, Now fully healed by the Night Sister's magic and given a pair of new robotic legs, Maul began a hunt for the man who had nearly destroyed his life, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Sidious confronted Maul and a press to end their claim to the Sith mantle. His revenge scheme eventually ended with Maul's control of Mandalore and the death of Duchess Satine Kryze. However, Darth Sidious sensed his former apprentice's action and his stance as a potential rival, and traveled to Mandalore to put an end to it. He killed a press and took Maul captive, locking him away in an old mountaintop prison known as the Spire. In an elaborate Sith gambit to settle a long-standing, deadly dispute with the Night Sisters. Later during the war, Yoda visited Moraband, the Sith homeworld. The Jedi Master encountered an illusory specter of the ancient Sith, Darth Bane, who was buried on the planet, and battled Sidious on a spiritual plane as a result of an ancient arcane Sith ritual. Through his experience, Yoda gained a new enlightenment about the Force that the Sith did not foresee. After Tyrannus' death, Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker became Sidious's new apprentice as Darth Vader. After 3 years of the Clone Wars, Darth Sidious's grand scheme was almost complete. He sacrificed and betrayed Count Dooku to a violent killing by Anakin Skywalker to manipulate the young Jedi. As Palpatine, he told Anakin a Sith legend about Darth Plagueis the Wise. Plagueis, through the dark side, had gained the ability to keep people from dying until his apprentice killed him in his sleep. The story entranced Anakin, who was desperate to learn this power to save his wife, Padme Amidala. Eventually, Palpatine revealed himself as Sidious and converted Anakin to the dark side. Jedi Master Mace Windu tried to arrest the Dark Lord, but was killed after Anakin betrayed Mace and joined the Jedi. He betrayed Mace and the Jedi. After this, Anakin pledged himself to service under his new Sith Master, Sidious, and became Darth Vader. With the fall of the Jedi, the Sith returned to power through Sidious's ascension as Emperor of the Galactic Empire. With Windu's attack and a new Sith apprentice at his side, Sidious realized this was the perfect opportunity for him to destroy the Jedi. He ordered Vader to lead the 501st Legion's attack on the Jedi Temple, and then go to the Mustafar system to wipe out the Separatist Council. With Vader at the temple, Sidious unleashed Order 66, which led the clones' biochips activating and brainwashing them into murdering the Jedi. Thousands of Jedi across the galaxy were betrayed and killed by their clone troopers. Prior to Vader arriving on Mustafar to execute the Separatist Council, Sidious tricked the Council into believing that Vader would protect them. After Vader slaughtered the Separatists, Vader followed Sidious's Third Order by shutting down the droid army, which ended the Clone Wars. In the political arena, he reorganized the Republic using the powers given to him as a result of the Clone Wars to transform the Galactic Republic into the Galactic Empire, to restore the Sith Empire, installing himself as Emperor. Once more, the Sith ruled the galaxy unbeknownst to all but the few surviving Jedi. The Sith ruled the galaxy for a generation, consolidating the Empire and hunting the few Jedi who survived Order 66. Following the reorganization of the Republic and purging of the Jedi Order, Darth, Sidious, and Vader ruled over the First Galactic Empire for over 20 years, until the Battle of Endor. The two Sith Lords established a cadre of dark side wielders known as the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors were tasked with hunting down Jedi Purge survivors and preventing Force-sensitive children from becoming Jedi. The leading Inquisitor was a Pauan Grand Inquisitor, who was a former Jedi Sentinel and Knight. The Inquisitors were trained by Vader and wielded double-bladed, spinning lightsabers. Fortress Vader was a Sith. Fortress Vader was a Sith stronghold constructed on Mustafar during the rise of the Empire. Sometime into the Imperial era, Vader embarked on a mission to Mustafar. With him, he took the Chief Imperial Architect, Colonel Alva Bren, her assistant Lieutenant Rago, and the mask that once belonged to Momin. Sidious had assured Vader that Momin's mask would guide him during his studies there. Whilst on the planet, Vader meditated in the Sith cave there. That was where Momin's mask possessed Rago, and Momin used his body to design a structure. When Bren discovered this, she was shot dead, alerting Vader to the situation. Vader killed Rago and removed the mask from his body. He took it to the cave and reached into it using the Force. Momin revealed himself to Vader and told him his story, before attempting to possess him too. Vader resisted, but came to let the mask take control of a Mustafarian, giving Momin a body again. The two discussed the structure Momin had designed, and Momin claimed it could tune the energies of the dark side locus on Mustafar, opening the door to the dark side. Vader subsequently agreed to let him build the fortress. The insurgents on Ryloth failed in their efforts to assassinate the Emperor and his apprentice. 5 years after the end of the Clone Wars, the Free Ryloth movement, led by Sham Syndulla, embarked on a large-scale operation to assassinate the Emperor and Vader. Sham wanted to kill the two Sith Lords to bring about the demise of the Empire. However, Sidious had anticipated Sham's move, and the two Sith eluded Sham's attempt to assassinate them. This operation dealt a major blow to the Free Ryloth rebels, who were forced deeper underground, and also led to the exposure of Colonel Belcor Dre as a traitor. Despite Sidious's hopes, he failed to stamp out the sparks of the growing rebellion. After the outbreak of the Lothal insurgency about 4 years before the Battle of Yavin, Sidious dispatched Vader to hunt down the Spectres, who were part of the growing rebellion. Vader lured the Spectres into a trap on Lothal in an attempt to track down the Phoenix Cell. Vader led an attack on the Phoenix fleet, which destroyed the rebel flagship Phoenix Home, but failed to destroy the rebellion. During the skirmish, Vader discovered that his former apprentice Ahsoka Tano was still alive. Under Sidious's orders, he dispatched more Inquisitors to hunt down the Jedi Purge survivor Kanan Jarrus and his apprentice Ezra Bridger. The power within the ancient Sith temple on Malachor destroyed the Jedi and Sith alike. A year later, Vader visited the Lothal Jedi Temple, where the fifth brother and the seventh sister had attempted to capture Bridger, Jarrus, and Tano. Vader remarked that the Emperor would be pleased with their discovery. When the fifth brother remarked that the power of the Jedi was growing, Vader responded that it would be their undoing. The Sith Lords later took an interest in the Sith Temple on Malachor, which was reputed to be home to an ancient weapon capable of destroying all life. Vader sent another Inquisitor called the Eighth Brother to hunt down a shadow and obtain a Sith holocron. Bridger, Jarrus, and Tano encountered the former Sith apprentice Maul, who was the shadow whom the Eighth Brother was hunting, in the Malachor Sith Temple. Maul had become stranded on Malachor several years prior, and had discovered a secret inside the Sith Temple that would allow them to destroy the Sith. However, he lacked the strength to do so on his own. Maul managed to befriend Ezra, and the two Force wielders succeeded in obtaining the Sith holocron. Maul later helped the Jedi drive several Inquisitors away. Despite Jarrus and Tano's distrust, Maul managed to convince them to help him by teasing the opportunity of destroying the Sith once and for all. Ahsoka Tano confronted Darth Vader in the Malachor Temple and discovered his former identity as her Jedi mentor, Anakin Skywalker. Maul convinced Ezra to place the Sith holocron in the obelisk at the top of the complex. He then helped Jarrus and Tano kill the Inquisitors before turning on both of them. Eventually, Maul blinded Jarrus. Despite this, the Jedi Knight defeated Maul in combat and pushed him off the edge of the temple. Meanwhile, Ezra discovered that the Sith holocron was the key to reactivating the Sith Temple, which was a powerful super weapon capable of destroying life. Shortly later, Darth Vader arrived to claim the temple's power for the Sith. Darth Vader fought with Ahsoka while Jarrus and Bridger Sorry, I got lost in the script here. Darth Vader fought with Ahsoka while Jarrus and Bridger removed the holocron, triggering the temple's implosion. Bridger and Jarrus escaped the temple, but Vader and Tano were trapped inside when the temple began to implode. Vader and Tano survived and parted company. Later, Bridger came under the influence of the Sith holocron, which was inhabited by an entity called Presence. Under the holocron's guidance, Ezra learned more aggressive combat techniques, including forcing an ATDP walker driver to attack his comrades and walk his machine off a bridge. Bridger's use of the Sith holocron strained relations with his master Jarrus, who confiscated it. Jarrus later met a powerful Force wielder called the Bendu, who formed a middle ground between the light and dark sides. He advised Jarrus that an object could be used for both good and evil, and that only the person had the power to change it. Jarrus left the Sith holocron in the Bendu's care. The former Sith Lord Maul enlisted the unwitting aid of Padawan Ezra Bridger in his quest to find Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul, who is revealed to have survived the events on Malachor, later captured Jarrus and Bridger's rebel friends and used them as hostages to force the two Jedi to bring him the Sith holocron and Kanan's Jedi holocron. Jarrus and Bridger recovered the Sith holocron from the Bendu, who warned them that Maul planned to combine the power of the holocrons to provide clarity of vision. After rendezvousing with Maul, Bridger and the former Sith combined the two holocrons. Ezra wanted to find a way to destroy the Sith while Maul was looking for hope. The holocrons projected a vision of twin suns, an old enemy of Maul, and offered to show Bridger the key to destroying the Sith. However, Jarrus convinced his apprentice to look away, and the two holocrons separated. Maul took the opportunity to escape into space. Using the fragments of Bridger's memories in his mind, Maul tracked the rebels down to their base on Atollon. Using the dark side of the Force, Maul manifested in Bridger's visions. Maul managed to convince Ezra to follow him to Dathomir by offering to keep Chopper Base a secret. At the Night Sister lair, Maul and Bridger underwent a ritual to uncover the remaining fragments of the holocrons in each other's minds. After drinking a magic potion, Maul learned that Master Kenobi was still alive on the planet with twin suns, while Bridger learned that Kenobi held the key to destroying the Sith. The two were then attacked by the spirits of the Night Sisters, who demanded payment in flesh and blood for their services. Jarrus and the Mandalorian weapons expert Sabine Wren arrived to confront Maul, but were possessed by the spirits. Bridger and Maul managed to flee outside the lair. When Maul offered Bridger a place as his apprentice, the young Jedi refused to abandon his friends. After exorcising Jarrus and Wren, the three resolved to find the planet with the twin suns and to reach Kenobi before Maul could kill him. The Death Star was a super weapon loosely based on an ancient Sith design. In the years leading up to the Battle of Yavin, the Empire faced a growing rebellion that had grown into the Alliance to restore the Republic. In secret, the Emperor commissioned the building of the Death Star, a massive super weapon capable of destroying entire worlds. After the rebel elements stole the Death Star plans, Vader led a secret mission to Tatooine, which ended with the capture of Princess Leia Organa, the adopted daughter of Bail Organa, and one of the offspring of Anakin Skywalker. Shortly thereafter, the Emperor dissolved the Imperial Senate and ordered Alderaan's destruction. Lord Vader and Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin presented over Alderaan's destruction in the presence of Princess Leia. Before they could terminate Leia, she was rescued by a group of travelers, including Anakin's son, Luke Skywalker, the smugglers Han Solo and Chewbacca, the droids C-3PO and R2-D2, and the Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. While the other rebels escaped aboard the Millennium Falcon, Kenobi sacrificed his life to delay Vader. Leia and her rescuers retreated to the rebel base on Yavin 4. The Death Star traveled to Yavin base in a bid to destroy the Rebel Alliance once and for all. but this plan was ruined by a rebel starfighter force. During the Battle of Yavin, Vader sensed that the force was strong in the rebel pilot Skywalker, who fired the missile that destroyed the Death Star. Vader, however, survived the destruction. The Sith sought to prevent Luke Skywalker from becoming a Jedi by turning him to the dark side of the Force. 3 years after the events on Yavin and following the Battle of Hoth, the Emperor disclosed that Luke was one of the offspring of Anakin Skywalker, though this was something Vader already knew. Vader believed that Luke would be a powerful ally if he could be turned. The Emperor charged Vader with winning Luke over and destroying him if he refused to turn to the dark side. During that time, Luke had traveled to Dagobah, where he had been trained by Yoda, a Jedi Master who was once the leader of the Jedi Order. Vader managed to capture Leia, Han, C-3PO, and Chewbacca in Cloud City on Bastion. Sensing the danger that his friends were in, Luke left his training and traveled to Cloud City, where Vader was waiting for him. During their confrontation, Vader severed Luke's right hand and revealed that he was Luke's father. Despite the pain, Luke refused to join Vader, threw himself down a vein, and escaped. I'm making this part of the video in order to double check who is still watching the video. I want a way to improve the watch time of my videos, and I want to bring in new subscribers and new viewers. If you see this part of the video, please leave a comment saying something about finding the secret in this video. If you leave that comment for me, it will help motivate me to make more of this style video. It will also motivate me to add more detail into these videos, which will essentially allow me to make better content for all of you. I am making these videos for all of you, and I enjoy seeing the interaction on the videos. The first comment that talks about finding the secret will also receive a heart reaction from me. The amount of conversation I hope to achieve from this has the possibility to be legendary, and if you want to be a part of the legend of the video growth, then feel free to comment in the comments section.
Fulfill your destiny and take your father's place at my side.
I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
During the Battle of Endor, both Sith Lords were on board the second Death Star. In secret, the Emperor directed the building of the second Death Star above the forest moon of Endor in an attempt to destroy the rebellion once and for all. The Emperor arranged for intelligence on the second Death Star to be leaked to Bothan spies. Using this information, the Rebel Alliance made preparations to launch an attack on the second Death Star. Before the Battle of Endor, Vader traveled to the second Death Star to warn Moff Tian Jerjerrod to accelerate construction. Shortly after, Sidious traveled to the battle station to oversee the final construction stages. Luke confronted Yoda and the Force Spirit of Kenobi about Vader's claims on Bespin, and accepted that the Sith Lord was in fact his father, Anakin Skywalker, after his mentors confirmed it. Luke accompanied the rebels to Endor with the intention to confront Vader, believing that he could help the former Jedi return to the light side. Likewise, the Emperor sought to turn Luke to the dark side in order to replace Vader as an apprentice. On the second Death Star, Luke confronted Sidious, who wanted to provoke Luke's anger by having the Imperial Navy engage the Rebel fleet, thus putting his friends' lives at risk. The prophecy of the Chosen One came to pass when Sidious and Vader died as the last Sith Lords. Luke and Vader engaged in a lightsaber duel when the Emperor observed from his throne, still encouraging the Jedi apprentice to use the dark side. Luke gave in to his anger after Vader learned of his sister's identity and threatened to turn her to the dark side. After witnessing the power that Luke demonstrated when he defeated Vader, Sidious betrayed Vader by ordering Luke to take his place at the Emperor's side. Luke, however, steadfastly refused to turn. Realizing Luke was a true Jedi and would not be swayed, Sidious attempted to kill him through torturing him with Force lightning. However, Vader, torn between his loyalty to his master, his old Jedi connections, and his son, ultimately threw the Emperor down a reactor shaft, killing him and returning balance to the Force. With his life-sustaining armor badly damaged from the Emperor's Force lightning, Darth Vader died, but his selfless act allowed him to rejoin the Force as a Force spirit and be reborn as his old self, Anakin Skywalker. Thus the Sith Order, along with their tyranny, was no more, as foretold by the ancient prophecy that predicted their downfall. After the destruction of the Sith, a new generation would rise, embodying the power of the dark side. While the Sith Order was defeated at the Battle of Endor, it was merely one of many denominations of Force-worshipping religions that existed throughout galactic history. The Sith's ancient legacy as enemies of the Jedi and, at times, ruler of the galaxy, would continue to be felt in the decades that followed its extinction. The downfall of the Sith at Endor left behind a vacuum that others sought to fill, such as the Knights of Ren. Thus, while the ancient prophecy that foretold the destruction of the Sith came to pass, it did not foretell the destruction of the darkness, for as long as there existed light, there would always be shadow. Kylo Ren vowed to destroy the last of the Jedi in the name of his grandfather, Darth Vader. Immediately following the deaths of Darth Sidious and Darth Vader, many individuals and groups still adhered to their philosophy. Yup Tashu, an advisor to the late Sidious, was an admirer of the Sith interrogation methods, as well as their teachings and cunning. He believed that the remaining Imperial military had tried to retreat beyond the Veil of Stars to the unknown regions, to search for the source of the dark side that Sidious had come to feel reaching out to him. The acolytes of the Beyond, who worshipped the Sith, called Sith artifacts such as what they believed to be Darth Vader's lightsaber to destroy them, believing this returned the relics to their deceased owners. Kylo Ren pledged to finish what his grandfather Darth Vader had begun, although Supreme Leader Snoke scorned the sentimentality of Vader, which he believed had led to the Empire's downfall. Ultimately, Ren hoped to build an immunity to the light, and succeeded where Vader failed. Luke Skywalker, Ren's former master and the last Jedi, once blamed the Jedi Order for Darth Sidious's rise to power. After usurping his dark side master Snoke, who was not a Sith, Ren implored the aspiring Jedi Rey to join him in building a new order for the galaxy, and to let go of the past by forgetting the legacies of both the Jedi and the Sith. The Sith religion was preserved on Exegol, where the Sith eternal cult served the resurrected Emperor. Although Darth Sidious perished at Endor, the Sith Lord was able to cheat death using the dark side of the Force to escape from his falling original body into a cloned body far away from Endor and returned. Sidious settled on the hidden world of the Sith in the unknown regions, Exegol, along with a cult of followers, the Sith Eternal. However, the cloned body was unable to withstand Sidious's power, and as a result it physically decayed, requiring it to remain connected to cybernetic components, such as an Momin harness, in order to be sustained and move. On Exegol, the Sith Eternal oversaw the building of the largest fleet ever known to the galaxy, the Final Order, to establish a resurrected Sith Empire. Meanwhile, owing to a secret contingency plan designed by Sidious, former Imperial officers, nobles, and technologists were able to flee into the unknown regions, where they established the First Order. Darth Sidious resurrected himself by transferring his soul into an imperfect clone of his original body. The Sith Eternal created an artificial clone humanoid aliens, one of which was Snoke, came to be Supreme Leader of the First Order, though the First Order was unaware of Snoke's true origins nor the existence of the Sith Eternal, and the fact that the former Emperor was apparently alive in some form. In time, Snoke turned Ben Solo, the son of Han Solo and Leia Organa, to the dark side. Solo's fall to the dark side occurred after several events, including when he thought his uncle Luke Skywalker tried to kill him. A mysterious storm destroyed the Jedi training temple, and when Ren killed his friend Tai, Ben Solo succumbed to the darkness, killing Ren, changing his name to Kylo Ren, and becoming the new master of the Knights of Ren, an enclave of dark side users. Elsewhere, Skywalker went into a self-imposed exile, his location unknown to the galaxy. Kylo Ren, the grandson of Darth Vader, assassinated his master and became the new Supreme Leader of the First Order. 30 years after the Battle of Endor, the First Order began its war of conquest, destroying the New Republic, the government established by the Rebel Alliance towards the end of the Galactic Civil War, in a surprise attack, and launching an invasion of the known galaxy from the unknown regions. During the First Order's pursuit of the Resistance, a private military force led by General Leia Organa that opposed the First Order, Kylo Ren experienced a connection through the Force with Rey, a scavenger from Jakku, who had defeated Ren in a lightsaber duel during the Battle of Starkiller Base, and had been partially trained as a Jedi by Luke Skywalker. Together, the two defeated Snoke's elite Praetorian Guard after Ren killed Snoke. Rey hoped her compassion would redeem Ren as Skywalker's had Vader. But Ren instead steeped deeper in the dark side and usurped his master's supreme leader. Rey fled and helped her friends in the Resistance and other surviving members of the Resistance escape the First Order's onslaught at the Battle of Crate, while Rey's Jedi Master Skywalker sacrificed himself to distract Ren.
I am all the Sith.
And I'm all the Jedi.
The final order was discovered by Ren when he confronted the Emperor in his citadel on Exegol. In the year that followed, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren found Exegol, where he discovered Sidious, the Sith Eternal, and the Sith fleet. Sidious told Ren that the fleet was part of the Final Order, which he planned to unleash on the galaxy in order to establish a new empire. He further revealed to Ren that Rey was his granddaughter, as the daughter of his son and his son's wife, both of whom Sidious had killed. Sidious offered Ren the Sith fleet, the Final Order, and a new Sith Empire if he killed Rey. Ren later informed the First Order's Supreme Council of the existence of the Sith fleet. Allegiant General Enric Pride believed it could be used to increase their forces tenfold for their ultimate push towards galactic conquest. After Ren abandoned the First Order, General Pride, a veteran of the Old Empire, was given command of the Final Order for swearing fealty to Sidious. Rey arrived on Exegol to confront her grandfather in his throne room before an amphitheater of his followers, who chanted as Sidious spoke. Sidious told Rey he never planned to kill her, having manipulated Ren, but instead wanted her to take his place on the Sith throne. Sidious pressured her to sacrifice him, planning to use an esoteric power to transfer his spirit into her body. During his temptation, Sidious showed Rey the unveiling Battle of Exegol, which erupted as a result of Rey sending the coordinates to Exegol to her friends in the Resistance. Although the Resistance was initially outnumbered by Sith Eternal forces, they were reinforced by a citizen's fleet. With his strength restored, the Emperor assured his followers that the return of the Sith was inevitable. A returned Ben Solo arrived on Exegol, who went on to defeat the Knights of Ren and accompany Rey, standing side by side against the Dark Lord of the Sith. Sidious angrily grabbed the two using the Force and inadvertently drew some of their life force, which caused his body to begin healing. Realizing that their connection was a dyad in the Force, Sidious siphoned the life force of their bond to rejuvenate his body. Out of pure spite for the Skywalker bloodline, Sidious disposed of Solo into a nearby abyss. Sidious ascended the throne of the Sith and used Force lightning to attack the Resistance and Citizens' fleet. The Battle of Exegol saw the Sith tradition end with the destruction of Sidious and his cultists. Rey, strengthened by the spirits of the past Jedi, arose. Sidious proceeded to direct his lightning towards her, intent on killing her, but Rey defended herself with Anakin and Leia's lightsabers, deflecting the lightning back at Sidious, who disintegrated, destroying the Sith and unleashing an explosion that caused the entire amphitheater to crumble. Rey died, but Solo survived and climbed out of the pit, where he found Rey lifeless on the ground. Crawling to her, Solo gave his life force to resurrect her, and died shortly thereafter. Rey ultimately rejected her dark ancestry. She took the Skywalker surname to honor the extinct Skywalker family, and remained a Jedi, preventing the return of the Sith permanently. Without the Sith, the First Order faced a series of attacks as people rose up across the galaxy, inspired by the victory of the Resistance and the Citizens' Fleet at Exegol. Before I start this section of the video, I want to say that I'm only talking about Qui-Gon Jinn here for a couple reasons. First, because this video gives information about different parts of the universe, and I want to cover those parts of the Star Wars universe before I give my opinions on Qui-Gon Jinn. It'll give me a chance to look into different things and form my opinions around those. I want to see how my I want to talk about Qui-Gon Jinn here to see how my opinions change over time with the information that is given. Second, I want to see what you think about what I'm proposing and whether you think it's possible. I just want to say that I'm putting more effort into this part of the video than I have into the previous 2 videos that I have released so far about this. Qui-Gon Jinn was one of my favorite characters from the prequel trilogy, and I grew up watching the original and the prequel trilogy. Until recently, I never looked into why, but I always saw that there was something about Qui-Gon Jinn that it seemed like it wasn't shown in the movies. There was always something that intrigued me about Qui-Gon Jinn as a character, and I hope to find out more, and I want to speculate about him. Of course, there is a spoiler where Big Papa Palpatine wound up being a Sith Lord. So it isn't completely out of the question that there's somebody pretending to be a Jedi when they're really a Sith. I want to say that I don't know much about Qui-Gon Jinn due to there not being much screen time showing Qui-Gon Jinn. He appeared in The Phantom Menace, which is episode 1. He appeared in several episodes of the Clone Wars TV shows, and at this point, 1 episode of the Obi-Wan series. And he was also in a few books and comics. And at this point, I haven't read any of the books and comics that feature Qui-Gon Jinn. Since I haven't read any of the books or the comics featuring Qui-Gon Jinn, I'm only going off of what I've seen from The Phantom Menace and from, like, the Clone Wars and his brief, like, however many second long appearance in The Mandalorian. Or Qui-Gon Jinn, or whatever it was. Because I haven't read any of the books or comics featuring Qui-Gon Jinn, feel free to recommend things that I could check out that do feature Qui-Gon Jinn as well. I'm interested in seeing what is out there and what your favorite media is that features Qui-Gon Jinn. Whether it's him being a Jedi Master, or, I guess, Jedi... I guess he wouldn't have been on the council, so he would... I don't know if he was a master or not, I can't remember. Whether it's on him being a Jedi or a teacher or whatever the case may be. Many of the things that I will say here revolve around passions, which are ultimately something that, you know, drives the Sith, and according to some Jedi, aren't used by the Jedi. Again, this is just based on what I know from the movies and from the TV shows. So again, if you have any recommendations, feel free to let me know. Qui-Gon Jinn was a person who was willing to do whatever it took to do what he believed was the right thing to do. On more than one occasion, this led him to go against the wishes of his superiors. A disconnect that would come ahead when he decided to train young Anakin even after his masters told him the boy was far too old. He seemed far more passionate about this than what I would expect from a Jedi. I have seen this level of passion from other Jedi in the movies and shows, but most of the Jedi I see are able to control their passions and not let their passions control their actions, unlike what happened with Qui-Gon Jinn. The only time I've seen the Jedi rely on their passion in the same way Qui-Gon Jinn relied on his actions was when they turned to the dark side. A few examples of this include Asajj Ventress, Pong Krell, Count Dooku, and a few more. These Jedi turned Sith will be covered in later videos. Having said that, the only person who I can think of who relied on their passion who did not turn completely to the dark side was Mace Windu, the Jedi who is on the Jedi Council who utilized the dark side in his fighting style. Feel free to let me know whether you want me to make a series like this one about Mace Windu, as Jedi Master Windu is another one of my favorite characters from the prequel trilogy, which seemed to be one of everybody's favorite characters from the prequel trilogy. The thing that separates most of these characters from Qui-Gon Jinn was the fact that most of these people follow the rules, whereas Qui-Gon Jinn actively went against the rules of the Jedi, but still called himself a Jedi when asked. The most well-known thing that Qui-Gon Jinn did was that he went against the Jedi Order. Or, I guess the most well-known thing that Qui-Gon Jinn that went against the Jedi Order was training young Anakin Skywalker. He already had Obi-Wan Kenobi as an apprentice, and he was more than willing to take on a second apprentice. The fact that he was willing to take on a second apprentice means that he was willing to go against the Jedi Code simply for the sake of Anakin Skywalker, which meant that he was more than willing to go against the Jedi Code multiple times before that as well, since he was known as a person who went against the orders of the Jedi Council, and it was mentioned that he did previously. Qui-Gon Jinn was a person who was, from what I saw, very strong-willed. Once he made a decision about anything, he followed through with the decision to make sure his actions followed his beliefs, even if his beliefs went against the group that he was a part of. At one point, his Padawan even told him that he went against the wishes of the Jedi Council too often. Qui-Gon Jinn finds any way to do whatever he feels needs to be done. He went against the Jedi Council. The friggin' Jedi Council, who had 12 members and who had rules for thousands of years. In fact, there was a rule that a Jedi could have multiple Padawans, but they could not have more than one Padawan at any one given time. And Qui-Gon Jinn actively attempted to go against this rule because he believed Anakin was the chosen one. In a way, Qui-Gon Jinn was manipulative to Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you believe that Qui-Gon Jinn died on purpose at the end of The Phantom Menace. I know there's a rumor going around about that. There's a theory about that. He wanted Anakin to be trained, but he knew that he wouldn't be able to personally train Anakin until Obi-Wan became a Jedi Knight. There is a possibility that Qui-Gon intentionally died at the end of The Phantom Menace to force the Jedi Council to make Obi-Wan a Jedi Knight. If you want me to go into detail about this, let me know in the comments section below. Having said that, if he died on purpose at the end of Episode 1, there was also a possibility that this would make the Jedi Council see that they needed more knights to do the things that the Jedi do, which would force the Jedi Council to allow Obi-Wan to train Anakin, even though they previously said that Anakin was too old to be trained due to one of the ancient rules that stated a Padawan had to be taken as a baby so it wouldn't form any attachments to people outside of the Jedi Order. The question in this case is whether or not Qui-Gon Jinn intentionally allowed Darth Maul to kill him at the end of The Phantom Menace, because that event is what got the Jedi Council to change their mind about Anakin getting trained as a Padawan. Growing up with the Jedi Order, Qui-Gon Jinn believed that he followed what was taught by the Jedi Order. Because of this, Qui-Gon Jinn had a passion for the Jedi Order many of the newer Jedi had lost over time. Although he often went against the Order, Qui-Gon Jinn actually passionately believed he followed the will of the Force more than some of his peers. Anakin Skywalker picked up the talent for disobeying the Jedi Council from Qui-Gon. I believe that this is a purposeful similarity between the characters of Anakin and Qui-Gon Jinn. I believe that this was an intentional piece of character development which is meant to show what could happen if somebody isn't trained correctly. And something that also shows the similarities between Anakin and Qui-Gon Jinn. In the Clone Wars Season 1 episode, Rising Malevolence, Plo Koon is sent to find a secret CIS weapon that is destroying ships that are part of a Republic fleet, while Anakin is told to regroup with another part of the fleet. When Anakin finds out about Plo Koon's fleet being destroyed, Anakin tells his fleet to regroup while he and Ahsoka go to find survivors of Plo Koon's fleet. When they leave, Anakin explains to Ahsoka that they're going to regroup with the rest of the fleet and essentially states that it's not that they just do what they're told, it's how they go about doing what they're told. Granted, this ultimately results in them, Anakin and Ahsoka, saving Plo Koon and having all the higher-ups, whether they be Jedi or Republic generals or whoever. It results in people being glad that they wound up rescuing Plo Koon because everything worked out. But that whole part of that episode was to show that Anakin picked up his knack for disobeying the Jedi Council just like Qui-Gon was shown to disobey the Council. Before I end this video, I realize that this video is long, and I want to apologize for it. If you didn't like how long it was, I want to apologize. If you stuck through the entire thing, feel free to subscribe, give the video a like. I have put a lot of work into making this video so far, and I plan on making more videos like this to finish off the theory. Also, if you made it this far into the video, feel free to let me know what you believe about Qui-Gon Jinn and what Force-sensitive group you think he belongs to. I really look forward to hearing your opinions here. What do you think about the Jedi Knight, who is one of the most well-known Jedi outside of Yoda, Obi-Wan, and the Skywalkers? On that note, I want to say something. Even though this movie was my favorite movie when it was originally released in 1999, I haven't seen this movie for a while. I think it's been about 6 or 7 years, maybe a bit more, since I've seen this movie from start to finish. Though I do plan on starting to rewatch this movie more often so I can start writing more of the script. I've just been lucky so far because the scripts that I've written for the series have all been research on different topics. So I've just been able to go to different pages like Wikipedia and stuff like that. I've just used this video series as an excuse to start watching Star Wars again, especially since I've also been watching a lot more Star Trek as well. And Star Wars and Star Trek are both science fiction fantasy type movies that have... It's basically stuff that I grew up on. Now, if you want to see more of this topic, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you have your own theories about Qui-Gon Jinn, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below as well. Also, if there's anything you want me to cover in the theory, please let me know. Last little bit here is I also have social media links in the video description. If you want to communicate with me outside of YouTube, or if you want to communicate with other people outside of YouTube, feel free to check out the social media links that I've provided. I am starting to use Twitter more. I'm starting to use Discord more. All those links are down below.